Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us on this Friday afternoon for a special half-hour edition of Across the Fence. I'm Judy Simpson. Food is the centerpiece of the Thanksgiving holiday, so we begin today by celebrating Vermont farms. Specifically, we're highlighting the 2018 Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year. The winner is Ayers Hill Farm in Berkshire. Let's join Across the Fence's Keith Silva.
About 100 yards from the Canadian border, down a dirt road in Berkshire, stands Ayers Hill Farm.
I'm 37. I'll be 38 in August, and this is home. It's where I've always been.
Carrie Atherton is the 7th generation to farm here, but she's the first in her family to win the Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year award.
We're not one for the spotlight, so this is a very humbling honor for sure. And we've never been like, look at us. That's just not our nature, and we're on a dead-end road, so that's kind of more how we are, more reserved. Bull Maddox coming Wednesday, and we'll get the collars all running then.
Atherton manages 550 acres and milks 200 cows. She gets some of her help running the farm from her dad, Orland Thompson, and his brother Bernie. The Thompson brothers have farmed here since 1974. Orland is mostly retired from the day-to-day operations. Bernie's not ready to retire yet. He remains a part owner with Carrie. Both Thompsons are happy Carrie's calling the shots.
It's almost more enjoyable now than it was because you don't have to do it. You know, I feel like I do, but you don't have to. You know, it's more just, it's in you. You got to keep doing it.
Carrie's a lot like I am, I guess.
How so?
I say she's stubborn and hard-headed. But she's very, she's conservative, and she's reasons things out, maybe to a fault sometimes. Probably in 5-10 years you get over some of that. You lose that, you know. Everything's not perfect. You can't have everything perfect all the time.
Not perfect would be a polite way to describe what it's like to be a dairy farmer in 2018. The price paid to farmers for their milk is the lowest it's been in nearly 10 years. For many Vermont dairy farmers, the cost of production and the milk check are neck and neck. What is it like to be a dairy farmer in 2018?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. I mean, the days are, you always have more good days than bad for sure. This has been I took over in 2014, and the beginning of the 2014, they had the highest milk price ever, and then after I took over, it steadily went down for 4 years and stayed there. I'm hoping that it goes up, and there's a lot of stress. You know, I keep the books and everything, and my mom keeps saying, you know, let somebody else do it, but I need to know what everything costs. I need to see what the end at the end of the day, what does the checkbook look like? Milk prices always go up and they always go down, and you gotta save for them when they go down so you can come out the other side.
It's a struggle. You know, it's still, like I said, it's in your blood. You're gonna, no matter how, you're gonna go as long as you can go. You know, I mean, you're proud to be a dairy farmer. At least I am. You know, proud to be a dairy farmer. We've been through these bad times before, more than once, and probably will go through more of them. You know, you just keep going.
Times are tough for Vermont's dairy farmers. But as the saying goes, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Instead of holding back, Atherton is investing in the farm's most important asset, the cows.
Dad's always believed in cow health, and I followed right behind him on that. Even though money's been tight lately, you can't jip on the cow end because it's going to cost you big time on the other end.
Atherton put down $40,000 to buy tracking collars for the cows. She received an additional $40,000 grant from the Vermont Housing and Conservation Board to complete the purchase.
So each cow has their own collar, their own number, and it goes right to the computer in the office and even eventually will be to my phone. So it's going to track her activity 24 hours a day, and it will send me alerts saying this cow's off one way or another, she's off. And then it's up for me to go in and take her temp, see what her problem is. In the end, it will save you money, because when a cow goes off feed, it's really you're going to lose production, and she may never come back to her original production before she got sick or had a sore foot or whatever. So if you can catch that sooner and start acting on it quicker, her turnaround time is going to be that much more efficient for her and for us.
Atherton expects the return on investment on the collars to take about 3 years. The collars will tie in with the cameras that she had installed a few years ago to keep track of her animals.
I'm not up and hang out and have coffee at the house. I grab my chocolate milk and head to the barn, and before I get here, I've already checked my phone for the cameras to see, okay, do we have a fresh heifer? Do we have cows in heat? I can see all that before I even get to the barn. You're never going to master this trade, so everything's related to technology now. We haven't put any money into our buildings per se. So this is something on the cow end where I don't think we can go wrong, and when the prices hopefully do turn around, then that's when our buildings are going to start getting attention.
If cow health is number 1 at Ayers Hill Farm, protecting the environment is 1A. The Thompson brothers were early adopters of cover cropping to improve soil health. They dug ditches to curb runoff and built fences to keep animals out of the brook that flows through the farm. Orland believes improvements like these are a matter of common sense. Would you say this farm runs by common sense?
Pretty much. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I never thought of it that way, but yeah. I've never, I guess not because I'm only part of this deal, but to me, it's the way it should be done. If you take care of the land, it'll take care of you. You should leave the world better, leave this place better than when you took it.
From investing in the cows to protecting their farmland, this family always has an eye to the future. So when it came time to transfer part of the ownership to Carrie, the family had to ask themselves some tough questions about the future of the farm.
When you look at the finances, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. It simply did not work. If I tried to outright buy the farm, I'd be belly up in 2 years. It wasn't going to work. We're a medium farm, and 200 cows is not where you want to be. You read any magazine, any book, or talk to anybody that's in ag, and 200 cows is that's usually where you fail. We're not big enough, or yet we're too big. We're right in the middle of not working normally, but we've made it work, and I think it's because we keep pushing for the efficient part, getting everything that we can out of what we have.
Being as efficient as possible only takes a farm business so far. The Thompson brothers' shrewd fiscal habits left the farm with almost no debt. But even then, the family had to keep talking and working out every detail for the transfer and for the farm to survive.
Financially, we, I guess, are conservative. We don't owe a lot. So we were able to do it in a different way. And then you got to have trust is probably one of your bigger features.
There's still discussions to this day. I mean, it's not settled yet. And you want to see them. They work their whole lives for this. And and I'm very proud to follow in their footsteps and be able, they built this, and I'm only here because of what they did. They've supported me through all this, and I, in return, support them. Otherwise, we'd have to sell the farm for them to retire, and nobody really wanted that. I paid the living expenses and a little extra. The best the farm can do, and they get paid before the grain bill gets paid. That's the deal.
Carrie takes a small salary, and she's supported by her husband, Nick. He provides off-farm income and helps out with free labor when Carrie needs a hand on the farm or with their daughter, Maggie.
I had the opportunity to work with this farm a few years ago and have...
Tony Kitsis was a consultant on the family's farm transfer. He also chairs the committee that selects the Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year.
In order to be in this business, you need to have passion and persistence, and those two qualities stood right out. And Carrie and Orland and Bernie, they have the passion to be here. That's evidenced by how long this family has been farming here, the persistence. But Carrie's passion for her cows. Just when she was talking to the judges about what it is that she's doing, all the things she's emphasizing, the judges pick up on that and they think, boy, you know, that's the same passion that the previous winners had for their dairies.
Carrie, Orlin, and Bernie are proud and humbled to receive this award from their peers, and they'll celebrate their achievement. But this is not a family who rests on their laurels.
This is as much about the Thompsons as it is about Carrie Atherton.
Oh, I think it's more about the Thompsons. This is, you know, I'm 7th generation Thompson. I'm 1st generation Atherton. I love what I do, and you know, am I doing this for Maine now? I'm doing it for the 8th generation, and that's the plan. I'm hoping, you know, we've got, I've lost track now because my sister just had another baby, 10 or 11, 12, something like that, grandkids my parents have, and I'm hoping that one of them or 2 of them can come in and take this over. I mean, that's the whole reason why I'm doing it.
Nothing's easy. It's just if you want to do it. I know she's doing it for the next generation, and you can't plan on anything. I mean, you plan, but don't expect it to go according to plan. Hopefully things will turn out good. It's still a good life. Even if you got to go down there and milk every day, it's still a good life. If you were doing it for the money, you'd have got out a long time ago. You know, you do it because you enjoy doing it, I guess. Yeah.
Everybody contributed, really. That's what the whole family's about, I guess. Everybody had a goal, and the goal is to let the farm succeed.
Dedication, trust, and family. That's the Thompsons and the Athertons, the 2018 Vermont Dairy Farm of the Year. In Berkshire, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Once again, our congratulations to Carrie Atherton and Orlin and Bernie Thompson of Ayers Hill Farm in Berkshire. Whether your business is farming or something else, we know that starting up takes a lot of planning and preparation. And even then, it's an uncertain endeavor. For some students at the University of Vermont, a new funding opportunity is giving them support to take their ideas further and help get their businesses off the ground. Rebecca Gollin tells us more.
Do we like the number of 6? Do we want to increase it to give, you know?
There's a new resource for the University of Vermont's up-and-coming entrepreneurs.
The Catamount Innovation Fund is UVM's first student-run venture catalyst program.
Medical student Al Marquez is one of the co-founders of the Catamount Innovation Fund.
We're a completely student-run team. All of the operations, all of the investments, all of the consulting is done by current UVM students. And current students, whether graduate or undergraduate, as well as alumni of up to 5 years, are eligible to apply.
Teams apply to be part of a year-long program where they're paired with an undergraduate business analyst who helps them develop their idea. The money to support the ventures comes from UVM alumni. Throughout the year, the students are provided with resources and small grants to get their businesses off the ground. And at the end of the year, those teams are eligible for up to $10,000 for further development.
Whereas like people like to hold physical products or see like a service, especially one.
Throughout the time, I mentioned we provide a lot of resources in terms of workspace, funding for prototype development. We have workshops led by local members of the startup community. And at the end, teams will be rewarded with money to help them reach their next and final milestone in the accelerator program.
In the first year of the program, 24 teams applied and 6 were selected. Those who participated had a variety of business ideas and products ranging in stages of development. They're here at UVM's Davis Center to share the culmination of their work for the year in a demo day.
So why not make a bigger stress on collaboration while we're still in school?
Our project is pretty preliminary, so the brunt of our work so far has been seeing what's out there, like who is doing something similar to what we're doing. How do we progress forward? Like before developing, do you wireframe, do you prototype? Getting in contact with people who've been through this before.
Like Marquez, Sam Logan and the other members of his team are medical students. They're developing a mobile app that seeks to streamline information and increase efficiency for patients as they're discharged from the hospital.
You might be sick, you might be just tired and stressed out, you might even be on drugs. And either way, it's not really fair for you to have to comprehend everything that you need to know. And not being able to do your wound care as best as you can, maybe missing a couple drug doses, something as simple as that can really hurt your recovery and your care. So we hope to take those discharge notes and organize them better, put them on your phone so you can see everything by appointment, so you can search by like contraindication of like this medication or all of your medications. So not so much pressure is put on that few moments, those like 5 minutes where you just need to understand everything. So you can go home and you can work with your care better.
For Logan and his team, working with their business analyst helped them keep track of the big picture.
They help you with things that, I mean, as a med student, I'm not really familiar with. They helped us get in contact with mentors. That's not something that I've really had to do in this setting before. They helped us do market research, also something that was quite opaque. They helped us refine our processes, which is something that I never thought I would say, in that I have a team of 3 people. Should we all be doing the same thing? Should we be doing different things? How do we be more efficient? And they really helped us with that.
I knew I had some tools that I could help them with, but I also knew that I would take a lot out of it, like you would with an internship or something like that.
Julia Campanella is one of the student business analysts working with the fund. She was paired with a different team who's developing an opioid risk assessment tool. It was a new topic for Campanella.
It was something totally outside of anything I knew about. Being a business major with a studio art minor, I don't do anything medical related, but I've always found it to be really interesting, especially the drug epidemic that's going on right now.
The opioid epidemic is something that doesn't only affect drug dealers or our typical person. It affects everyone we know.
Campanella helped the team network with business and medical professionals in the area to develop their idea and begin bringing it to fruition. The team is now working with a programmer to create a basic version of their tool that they will then be able to pitch to potential clients. And at the end of the experience, Campanella says she has taken a lot away.
It's done a few things for me. It's first of all helped me meet students here at UVM that I wouldn't normally meet, which has been really big for me, and connecting with people who have similar interests, and that's definitely enhanced my own experience at UVM. It's also helped me connect with a lot of people in the local area and professors that I wouldn't normally work with, and that's been really cool just to get ideas from them, even for things like future career goals and jobs and stuff like that. I've definitely opened a lot of doors through being involved with the fund.
Offering students a real-world experience while they're still in school is invaluable.
This offering is filling the need of how can we keep those students who, on the one hand, want to learn about entrepreneurship and want a real live experience. It's one thing to watch Shark Tank on TV. It's another thing to be the shark in the room actually making the decisions about who gets the funding to go forward.
Eric Munson is the faculty advisor for the group. He's been impressed with the progress he's seen the teams make over the year.
On the one hand, the analysts are people who are interested in entrepreneurship, but they're not ready to take the dive just yet. So it gives them a lot of experience on the investment side of the table and decision-making, the training side of the table. Very valuable skills, but there's this other cohort of students, the folks we saw tonight, who had ideas and were ready to run with those ideas this year.
Then I developed the universal binding attachment and wrote a provisional patent application, and I'm extremely excited to announce that as of today, the provisional patent has been filed.
For some participants, the experience has opened their eyes to their options for when they leave school. Business student Campanella is now contemplating a future as an entrepreneur.
The takeaway from working with the fund, and then I also happened to have started a research assistant position this semester as well with a professor in the business school. The culmination of the tools that I've learned from the both of them have made me realize this is a field I want to go into, which I would have not known about 6 months ago. So that's been really exciting for me, really exploring kind of who I am and what my interests are. It's definitely helped take away something that I didn't know would come about.
For me, it's a way to kind of integrate with medicine and like look at it from an entirely different perspective. And that's a component of, I want that to be a component of my career, like going forward. So it's been really cool to be able to do that.
It's a taste of real-world business experience for these UVM students as they start their careers. In Burlington, I'm Rebecca Gullen with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Rebecca. When it comes to the business of raising livestock, pasturing is a good way to cut feed and machinery costs. But pasturing requires skills that some farm businesses don't have or aren't willing to learn. UVM Extension works with farmers to think outside the box, or more specifically, outside the barn. Here's Across the Fence's Keith Silva with a case in point.
At Island Acres Farm in South Hero, the cow barn is empty. That's a change for a farm that's been in Steve Robinson's family since the 50s.
When my father took over in 1959, he said there was 23 dairy farms in South Hero. There's 4 dairy farms left.
Robinson has no plans to reduce that number any further. About 180 acres and 75 cows make up Island Acres Farm. Steve, Kelly, and their 2 sons run the farm. A few years ago, Robinson put up some fencing and started to pasture his dry cows, those cows not producing milk. And now he's going all in. Now, every cow dines al fresco. Before moving to this pasture-based system, Robinson grew corn to feed his cows. Dairy farmers grow corn because it's a good source of energy for producing milk. As a crop, corn is reliable. That is, until it isn't.
It costs a lot of money to grow good corn. It also costs a lot of money to grow poor corn. I think it was 6 or 7 years ago, we had lost a large corn crop, and I'd made the decision that we couldn't rely on a corn crop. And so started talking about a pasture-based dairy farm.
Growing corn and growing grass is as different as, well, corn and grass.
It's an easier transition for the cows than it is for the farmer. So you're having to teach an old dog new tricks. Getting off that corn thing has been the hardest, because you get so many tons of feed from corn, where you have to make it up by being a better manager with your pastures, a better manager with your hay crops. So that's been the hardest part, and then just the not knowing. There's so many unknowns in farming now. I mean, you're just adding more to it. So we started down there. We've been doing, like you were talking about, moving just one fence over.
To help him get his pastures in shape and mitigate risk, Robinson called an old friend who had taken a new job.
I started actually working for the Robinsons in 2008. I actually was milking here in the evenings, and I worked here for a couple of years.
Cheryl Cesario is a grazing specialist with UVM Extension. She says Robinson's decision to switch to a pasture-based dairy comes with a lot of risk.
A farm like this, a very well-managed farm where, you've been doing something a certain way for so long and it works, to then have to switch and do something different, I think is a huge leap just because it's a huge risk, especially years like 2018, right, where it's a challenging financial climate, so it's even a bigger risk to take and do something different.
There's more to pasturing dairy cows than opening the barn doors.
A pasture system is very dynamic because grasses grow at different rates over the grazing season. So when you're setting up an area for, say, a day of grazing, what that area, how it's sized in May is going to probably be different than how it's sized in July. And so things are shifting, and that's what makes it kind of complex, because there's so much changing within a pasture over the course of a season.
Cesario serves as a consultant for farmers like Robinson who want to change how they manage their animals. She's also an on-site source for troubleshooting and goal setting.
Sure, I can walk on anyone's farm and tell them what to do, but that's not really that useful. The better thing is to get a sense like, what's the goal? What is it you want to do? And kind of the why do you want to do this? And then we can work together to come up with the plan and say, okay, well, what acreage makes sense to incorporate so that they're a part of the planning process. Then to be able to check in, 3 or more times over the season to kind of make sure things are on track. Are they happy with it? And if they're not, what can we do differently to make sure it's working?
The proof the system works is in the milk.
Cows have been out now a couple weeks on grass here. They're seeing an increase in production of about 200 pounds a day. So that's a really critical thing, is when a farmer is adopting a new system, we don't want to see a drop in production, right? That doesn't make the farmer very happy. So we want to see either the production maintained or potentially even increasing.
It's finding the nutritional balance, okay, where before you bought the commodities, now we're trying to grow our own commodities and trying to balance that out to make sure the nutrition is right for the cows, to make sure that they can produce milk. I think it's been educational. It's been a little tough at times, trying to come up with the amount of feed that it takes to feed all the animals that we have.
There's an aspect to Robinson's decision to put his cows on pasture that doesn't have much to do with the farm's bottom line, and everything to do with living in Vermont.
Somebody did a survey, there's 10,000 cars go by here a day. Everybody always asks, what would you do if you didn't farm? I was like, what would you do if I didn't farm?
When you're looking at sustainability of a farm, right, we have financial sustainability and environmental sustainability. And the last piece is the social element, and that's how are the farmers fitting into their community. I think the response from grazing has been really positive. They've gotten so many comments from people in the community, so we're really kind of filling that social aspect as well, which kind of gives us that bigger picture of sustainability.
Heather Trombley runs Roots and Wings Daycare out of her home in South Hero. She grew up here and was glad to see the cows in her backyard.
We were excited when we saw the fence going up, and then I sent a little message over, and they said that, yeah, we're going to be letting the cows out to graze, and so it's been really nice to see them. We just try to be involved and, friendly and conscientious of each other's families, and it works out great. I think communication is definitely key with any neighbors. We like to look out the window and we get to see them outside, and it's just part of growing up here in Vermont.
Robinson is proud of the award he's received from the St. Albans Co-op as a Distinguished Quality Member for 36 consecutive years. It's a testament to his family's farming legacy and his plan for the future.
I'm trying to get this farm set up to where it'd be easier to pass on. More than anything, that's been the reason that I want to transition into this pasture, is so it's a workable farm to where I'm not putting the burden on machinery and everything onto the next generation.
Island Acres Farm gives new meaning to the phrase, being put out to pasture. For the Robinsons, being out to pasture is how this farm will run from now on. In South Hero, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you for joining us. That's our program for this Friday afternoon. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.